Mute button is off. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hoop Show for our season review of 2023. Yes, we didn't go all the way this year, but that's okay. There's plenty to talk about this time around. Now, joining me on the show is, as you know, the man, the myth, the legend himself, and outgoing CEO of Qantas, Mr. Paul James. Welcome, Paul.
I'm Kane Courts' favourite person right now.
Yeah, exactly. How has your Father's Day been, Paul? And a quick shout out to all the dads out there. How's your day been, Paul?
Yeah, pretty low key. A little bit of time in the morning to take my kids over with me to go see my dad, who's conveniently enough jetting out tomorrow and won't be around for snuck in his Father's Day, but is not going to be around for his own birthday about a week from now. And
okay,
so it was nice to get a little bit of time. And oh, here we go. Oh, he's here again after a Cats win. So yeah, I cherry pick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it was good. It was simple, but it was good.
Great. Well, I had my kids. We just got back not long ago, actually, before we went live. We got back from Cold Rock Ice Creamery. I didn't get anything myself. I've got a bit of a toothache at the moment, which I told you off air. But yeah, so they enjoyed that. I think they'll be still getting. They got the extra big one, I think. So they're going to be going nuts on that. But look, this is going to be a big show, everyone. So thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We need as many subscribers as we can get. Help us put this content out each week. And if you are already a subscriber, thank you very much. As I said earlier, if you are a father, happy Father's Day to you. Paul, we've got a lot to talk about, and the way we're going to do the show. Actually, the way we're going to do the show is I'm going to sort of start off talking a little bit about the preseason. So we'll go all the way back till Christmas, whenever, and then we'll go through the first part of the season, the middle part, and the end of the season. Oh, God. And then we'll have a bit of a quick chat about what's happened since. It's only been a couple of weeks and so forth. And then we can sort of unpack things a little bit more, talk about where it all went wrong, all that sort of stuff, and maybe some of the other news that sort of happened since then as well. So strap in. It's going to be a big one. I love these episodes. I'm highly energized, even though I'm not on much sleep, but I do get up for these ones. I really enjoy these review episodes. And as I said, yes, we did have a bad season, I suppose, overall, but there's plenty to take out of it. Are you psyched? Are you ready to go, Paul?
I mean, as we discussed pre-show, I fell asleep while putting my daughter to sleep, and I woke up about 5 minutes before we started. So I'm gonna get my motor will start running soon. We just need to get into the swing of things, and that's when I'll start to perk up. So
sweet. So you're half asleep when I've got a terrible toothache, and I've not long got back from the Gold
Father's Day, right?
Exactly. I've just got back from the Gold Coast on a secret recruiting mission for the Cats after a couple of Gold Coast players, or maybe some draft picks. That'd be nice. Maybe a bit of both. Yeah, maybe a bit of both. All right. So starting off in the preseason, unfortunately, we said goodbye to a couple of coaches that were very valuable. Eddie Betts and Hayla Tarry. I think in hindsight, it would have been great to keep those two, but they had to say goodbye. Dangerfield was appointed captain of the Catters, and we weren't sure how it was going to go. I can't remember what you said, Paul, before the announcement was made. Were you leaning towards Stewart or Danger at the time, or did you have someone else?
I was leaning towards Danger in terms of which direction they'd go. I was hoping for Stewart, but I felt like Danger was going to be the one. So
sure, yeah,
it played out about as expected.
Yep, fair enough. I think we had the preseason injuries or the surgeries. Tom Hawkins, I should say, hurt his foot in the last few rounds of the season prior, and had the surgery in the off season. And as was pretty much every preseason, really, Mitch Duncan's under the knife. So both of those guys struggled to have a decent hit out in the off season or the preseason. We brought a couple of new players, or 3 new players into the club through trade: Ollie Henry, Tanner Bruhn, and Jack Bowes. So I think we can talk about them a little bit later, but I think we'd all be comfortably say that we're pretty happy with those 3. Am I right?
Yeah, and obviously people would recall at the time when we brought in, when we went through that trade period, that I was pretty disappointed to see the likes of Cooper Stevens head out the door until, of course, I realised that he was actually a Hawks man to begin with, and at which point, see ya. But it's worked out really well. With the 3 additions have really done a great job over the course of this year, and we'll obviously discuss them in more detail later on. But I think it's a tick for all 3 in terms of their first year at the Cats. So
yeah, good pickups all around. And through the draft, we got Jai Clark, who played maybe 5 minutes of footy. maybe a little bit more. He hurt himself in that game, and then or training or whatever it was. Anyway, didn't play again for the rest of the year. Went under the knife. Phoenix Foster, he's going to be a star. Oscar Riccardi, son of Oscar Murdoch, Oisin Mullen. I think I got that right finally, and Ted Colossi or Colossi. What I still don't know. I've heard so many different versions of this. We'll go with Colossi. I'm not sure. So yeah, new players, new young guys into the club. I'd say from that crop, I'm very, very impressed with all three, especially the Irish fella who's come over and played about 6 games, which incidentally, I actually thought he was going to play about 6 games this year. So I was happy he got a good look at it too. They didn't. They all got their numbers before the season started, but we did keep Joel Selwood's number in abeyance for, I don't know if it's for a year or a few years. Will that go next year? Who knows? And we did welcome in Daisy Pearce as well as an assistant coaching role after she won the AFLW premiership with Melbourne. I still feel like her heart's with Melbourne after hearing her commentate the AFLW Melbourne game on the weekend, but who knows? Hopefully we'll keep her at the Cats for a few more years.
I mean, you know how their song goes, heart beating true and all that. So I get it up to a point, and that's totally fine.
Fine.
I mean, you see it with all the commentators these days who've come from a different club. You can always hear that little bit of bias. If it's a big moment for a certain club, they tend to acknowledge that and give the commentator that opportunity to celebrate. I certainly think about Luke Darcy, for example, when the Dogs made the grand final against the Giants in 2016, and the way they threw to him with about 15, 20 seconds ago. It was awesome.
Oh, and the behind the scenes cameras in the box as well. That was great. Look, if Joel Selwood ever went to another club, I don't think he'd say, I bleed brown and gold. Like, no way. He's a Geelong player through and through.
Joel Selwood at
Can you imagine that, everyone? If that ever happened, that's it. We're blowing the world up. Just to round out the pre-season, though, the stadium, that was a bit of a shame. That was supposed to be ready for round 6, but that didn't get up, and I think we had some delays with due to some steel defects or something like that. So that's still yet to be finished, but hopefully maybe we'll see a couple of cricket games.
Between now and 2030.
2030, probably about right. We had a couple of games though before the season proper started. We absolutely smashed the Hawks in the match simulation game, 85-point win. But unfortunately, this was the beginning of the medium-term injuries. We had Jack Henry, after being quite dominant up forward that day, he landed and re-injured his foot. So that was a bit of a shame. And then we went up to Brisbane. Or somewhere up on that area, the north, and as we always do in pre-season, always lose to Brisbane up there or Gold Coast up there. So 46-point loss, but some nice signs from Stengel and Brian Myers, who we didn't actually realise at the time he was going to become the player that he was. So
we did. I mean, I had that conversation with him during the pre-season, and I was really the motivating factor behind the season that Brian had. So
you were.
We'll continue to stick with that narrative.
Okay, we'll stick with that. And you probably should get a percentage of his earnings as well, just like his manager does.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice
because he's going to...
You can shave off 1%. I don't care. That's fine.
1% of 1%, something like that. All right, now, Paul, do you want to take us through the early part of the season? Maybe a little bit of a dodgy start, but we turned it around a little bit in the end.
Yeah, so we've got everything blocked here into I guess blocks of 8 games there, conveniently enough with the 24-round season this year. So round 1, the rematch against the Pies. Look, it was a really interesting game for a fair chunk of the period there. We were on top for 3 quarters, and then things just started to get. You could see kind of the lack of pre-season and some older legs. The Pies certainly with a little bit of extra fuel in the fire too. We went down by 22 points, but we had Joel Selwood had lap of honour. The boos for Ollie Henry were. I think we know what that's going to be like for Ollie for the next few years, but he seems to be really leaning into it and enjoying it. So good on him.
Yeah.
Not everything worked out well for him on the night, and probably the moment got away from him on occasions, but overall...
In the goal square, yep.
Yeah, certainly one in the goal square. Yep. But of course, the injuries started almost straight at the gate with Tommy Stewart and Sam de Koning copying injuries in that first match. So not the ideal start, which was then followed by... a Jeremy Cameron masterclass in round 2 against the Blues.
How good was he?
Absolutely unbelievable what we saw from Jez that day, but not enough to bring us over the line. He was really kind of dragging us on his own there. But an interesting stat that you've pointed out is that it was pointed out at the time, but it was the first time that we've had 4 Coleman medalists on the same field at the same time since 1902. Um,
121 years, roughly. Goodness me.
Yeah.
Did they even have the medal back then? Or maybe it was called something else.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think
Probably,
John
probably just lead goal kicker rather than Coleman at that
something
point.
like that.
And actually, Sooty in the chat there with a great point about the round one game with Jeremy Cameron's horror. Jeremy Howe. Sorry, his horror broken arm. That we weren't like the cameras kind of panned away and tried to hide that day. It was pretty gross, but
yeah, that wasn't ideal.
And it certainly was from that moment onwards that the Pies really perked up. So they did it for Jeremy Howe that day. The losses continued going into round 3, where we played, I don't know, some might argue the worst game that the Cats had played all year against the Gold Coast Suns. 19-point loss there. It's the first time that the Premiers had been 0-3 since 1976. Lukosius had a big one, and Sam De Koning just kind of continuing his rough start to the season with a head knock there. He was really just in the wars in those early stages of the season, and that really kind of capped it all off at that particular point.
Yep.
Finally, in round 4,
here we go.
Easter Monday, and it was really just a repeat of the preseason game, but it took a while.
Took a little while. I was in Bali at the time, and I was waiting on my food at the sports bar in Seminyak, and I'm like getting all kinds of pissed off. Anyway, continue. Sorry, I wasn't happy at that time.
You're completely right. Like, it was the anxiety levels were starting to peak through that game. It wasn't great the first 3 games, but you could maybe justify your way out of it.
Yep.
But it wasn't looking good through that Hawthorn game.
Not looking
until
good.
a 10-goal third quarter and Jeremy Cameron kicking 7 just blew the Hawks away, and we end up winning by a comprehensive 82 points. So
give him the Brownlow. Give him the Brownlow there now.
Yeah, certainly the calls for starting, best player in the competition and all that sort of stuff early on the piece, which was fantastic.
Premature.
Well, premature, yeah, things didn't quite work out. But round 5 against the Eagles, again, we kind of gave them a sniff at different points, which was frustrating, but it was still a pretty comprehensive win at the end of the day. 47 points. That was gather round. But Stengel broke his arm.
Medium-term injuries.
Hawkins did move beyond sticks.
On the goal kicking, yep.
Records there for goal kicking. So
that's right.
I guess a good day still for the Cats, despite the fact that it wasn't, the most amazing of days. The following week, when we should have been having the grand opening for the new stand,
40,000 people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, would have been fantastic. Packed house. I can't. Did you make it?
Where was I? Yes, I did. I was actually in the not my Doing Club, the Peroni Lounge. I lashed out.
It was that day, wasn't it?
I do it once a year. I lash out and get these indoor seats, and I had a great old time. It was fantastic.
With Tom Hawkins being the modern day version of Sticks, I can just imagine Hawks belting out "Stand By Your Man" like. But round 6 there against the Swans, the grand final replay, and it really was a replay right down to basically the margin as well. Smashed them by 93 points. Sam Simpson returned, which was fantastic to see.
That was great.
Came in and played a wonderful game as well. Cam Guthrie subbed out with what basically ruined his season at that particular point.
Didn't play again after that, did he? I don't think.
Not play again.
No, we didn't know that at the time. We just thought, why is he subbed out? Okay, whatever. Just like the grand final all over again. Give Parfitt a run. I can't remember who came on as a sub that game, but
yeah, I can't remember actually at that point. But round 7, the game that is most notable, not so much for the margin, but for the kid who stole the football from my son.
Yes,
the one he'd
that.
received from Hawk. Thank you very much to Brian for helping out in terms of getting a footy signed by both himself and Hawk, and getting that mailed off to my son, who was absolutely delighted to receive it. But also there was a game of football played that day. And Hawk absolutely took the piss out of the Bombers that day with 8 goals, a 28-point win where we really took the foot off the gas towards the end, and the Bombers got a few junk time goals. But
game over.
Yeah, it was the country game as well, which should also be noted. But that was 4 on the trot at that point. Jack Bowes with a calf injury. Thankfully, the only thing that kind of held him back for the entire season. He had a pretty good run of it otherwise. And that led into round 8 with the Crows, where we won by 26 points, 5 straight. Things are looking pretty good after a dicey start. So,
so
it was a nice block.
Clearly, my maths isn't great. I was trying to block this into 8 rounds 1 to 8, and
sorry, it's a good thing you've got a qualified maths teacher here to help you out.
You're very good. Well done. You're on the ball. I'm not, but you are.
So at that point, we'll throw over to you to
thank you.
Touch on the middle rounds of the year.
And just to sort of finish on that early part of the season, it was like, as I said, the 3 losses to start off with, but we turned it around 5 in a row, and everyone just thought we were back, just like John Wick. People keep asking me, am I back? I'm thinking I'm back. But it wasn't how it panned out in the end, was it, Paul? Unfortunately. But that takes us to the middle part of the season, where the wheels started to fall off a little bit. We had 2 wins and 4 losses, a draw, and there's a bye. Everyone had a bye in the middle part of the year. So round 9, we up to Richmond. No, we went up to Richmond, and we always play Richmond up there, don't we? A 24-point loss. Dustin Martin, the bane of Geelong, he did it again to us.
Dusty was back.
And would you believe it? The Richmond fans booed Tom Stewart. Didn't expect that, did we?
Why? What reason could you possibly have?
Why? Anyway, didn't their captain Ruckman Nank do something similar throughout the year? Yeah,
Nank's done very similar things. So
I wonder if they're booing him.
Bunch of clowns.
So anyway, we were due a loss. Clearly, 5 in a row. We're happy with that. 5 in a row. And then anyway, back to Freo. We should knock them off, but no. 29-point loss to Fremantle over in Perth, I believe it was. We had a few players missing, unfortunately, that day, so it wasn't meant to be for us. And strangely, no Geelong player. This is just boggled my mind. No Geelong player had more than 20 touches that game. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it.
Unheard of in the modern game. Even West Coast, getting smacked like they have been all year. Also, shout out to Tim Kelly for winning the best and fairest over there for the Crows. It wasn't necessarily the fiercest of competition this year, but regardless, great achievement. Former Cat who really, by departing us, is what unlocked the premiership, I would say. But yeah. So I think 19. I don't think the Eagles would have even had a game like that this year. So go figure. No.
Not a great game. A lot of people were saying that was the worst game of the year. I think around the Fremantle game. And I was like, don't forget
Oscar
Gold
Allen
Coast.
is the other excellent player as well. Thanks again.
Yeah, exactly. Now I think we're back home. This is where everyone's like, okay, we're back home. We've had a couple of losses. All right, we're back home though. Second game at home of the year. GWS. Surely we beat GWS, but no. They've got the wood on us, Paul. They've beaten us 3 times in a row on our deck at GMHB or Kidinia Park for Toby Green's 200th game as well. So not great. But
really spirited comeback. We gave him a real shake at the end, but
as we did last time as well, but ultimately fell short.
I think it was really that block of 3 games ultimately that actually sunk us for the year.
Pretty much. I don't think you're too wrong there. I think the 3 or 4 times we had 3 straight losses throughout the years. You're not going to win premierships doing that. And you're not going to win premierships when key defenders go down with hamstrings, which Radaglia did. He was playing pretty well up until that point. Unfortunately, took a while to get back in the team after that. He was obviously out for a few weeks with injury, but then I think the coaches were starting to wonder whether he's maybe not the best fit for the back 6 there. But anyway, he missed for a few weeks after that, and it was good. But it was good to see Oisin Mullen make his debut for the club, boy from Ireland who I can't remember. I think he used to be 21 or 20 or something like that. He's really young still, so looks like he's pretty built though. But
he's ready to go.
He's definitely built, and he's got hair down to his ankles when he takes a little man body. It goes and goes and goes. That hair
drops.
It drops. Oh yeah. All right. So now we're back on the winners list, round 12, up against the Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. Marvel, yes, it's Marvel. 22-point win there. I guess. I don't think it was the best game ever. I think it was we kicked the last 6 goals of the game.
Done, yeah. We didn't play a great game up to that point. You're right, as you say, we 6 goals at the end that basically allowed us to charge the Dogs down. The Dogs, being a pretty mediocre team themselves, allowed it. So,
yep. Until he tried to have a shot from goal from our goal square, the other end, we got about halfway there, hit the center circle with a big torpedo, but. Just fell short a little bit there, but that was probably the highlight for me for that game. So I think this might have been the star of the bye rounds, possibly. So we had our bye in round 13. I think that might have been spread. Was it over 3 weeks or 4 weeks, Paul? Can you remember how often?
4. I
have a feeling it was 4 weeks the byes were spread out, but it could be 3, whatever. Anyway, so we had our bye in round 13. Round 14, Port Adelaide over there in South Australia. We were cruising at one point, absolutely cruising. 21-point lead, but ultimately gave up about 10 goals after that and lost the game by 38 points. So while it doesn't look like a massive loss, goodness me, did it feel like a big loss in the end after being up by 3 goals, nearly 4 goals. And Sparkle Narkle did the dirty to us. They picked him up in the mid-season draft, and he and he does this for 2 goals. Good on you, Sparkle. Well done. I'm not sure if he's in their final squad, but who knows?
No, I don't think he's. I don't know if he's been out injured or something like that. So.
I'm not sure. I think the other bloke, Francis Evans, is still running around. I'm not sure if he's in their best 23, but pretty sure he was there recently as well. So anyway, good luck to those boys. I guess once a cat, always a cat, unless you're go to Hawthorn or something like that, then you're dead to us.
Sorry, Cooper.
Sorry, Cooper, if you're watching. We still love you. No, we don't. Round 15, Melbourne. This was probably a lot of Cats fans will say this is probably one of the best games of the year. They enjoyed this the most. We had a 15-point win at home, 6 goals in the fourth quarter. Don't we love coming home hard in the fourth quarter? But Gary Rowan, what are you doing? What are you doing, Gary Rowan? You're knocking out Jeremy Cameron, who admittedly had started to, lose a bit of form at this point. But
he was just trying to knock some sense back into it.
Clearly, he tried. We've got to do something to get
work.
Jezza back into it. But no, that was unfortunately Jezza may have well just put the pin in the season at that point because he just didn't know what he was doing after that. I don't know if it was ongoing concussion injuries. I can't imagine the club would have played him. I think it was the shoulder anyway, wasn't it? Everything was out of equilibrium. It was just out of whack. So nothing sort of worked for him after that. Rowan, to his credit though, after KOing Cameron into next week, did play pretty well for the rest of the game. So that would have shaken a few anyone else really. But yeah, I think the crowd was very, very quiet and concerned. Jezza was on the ground for a very, very long time.
It was a weirdly long time.
Yeah. Look, rounding out the middle part of the season, we had the round 16 draw, and now who actually picked that as a draw? I can't remember pre-game.
We know someone who picked a draw.
Yeah, actually, that was me. Oh shit, I forgot. No, I did actually go with that.
Really?
I did. You didn't realize? Oh, I was on the socials, and I'm like, I put up the.
I probably didn't show up because it was a loss. I considered it a loss that week, right?
No, I put it up saying Geelong v Sydney. I'm predicting a draw, and sure enough, at the end of the game, I just kept getting all these retweets, reposts. I think they're called now, and it went viral. I was nowhere near it for the rest of the year. I kept trying to pick it, but nothing after that. Anyway, take us home, Paul. Finish us off for the last 8 games of the year.
I mean, look, it started all right. A game against North. We smacked him by 62 points. Zach Tui passed Jim Steins in terms of the record games played by an Irishman. Tyson Stengel kicked 5 goals, which was awesome because, he kind of had an up and down, topsy-turvy year.
He did.
Seemed like he was kind of back on board and ready to go for the back end of the season. That, was boding pretty well. Cooper Harvey debuted for the Roos, which was nice to see, basically 30 seconds after his dad retired.
Pretty much.
But it was a great day for the Cats and seemed like things were looking pretty good. And you pair that with, again, another game against the Bombers where, again, Hawk just made a mockery of them.
You did.
But we kicked off with the first 7 goals of the match. Went on to win by 77 points. Grine's 100th game. Kicks the opening goal. Everything worked out.
How good was that?
Perfectly there. Yeah, the stars aligned very nicely.
Was that the Messi game? I can't remember. Was that when?
That would be the Messi game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jez just not looking himself, still way off. And, that was the commentary through this whole final block of the season where he was close, he He just could not quite deliver. Aside from one game.
Obviously, he was getting the ball. He was fumbling it, but he was having shots at goal. He was just way off. It was like
you could see it in the pre-game, you could see it all over the place. So 100 games, 100 days with a handy little stat there that since round 15, Stengel kicked at least a goal a game. So he found his touch towards the back end of the season, and hopefully that does bode well for next year.
Yes.
Next up, we played against the Lions. Fast finish for us, but we did drop short. Sadly, Will Ashcroft, future Geelong Cat, did his
future
ACL.
Cat, yes.
So I guess not ideal circumstances for both teams there, but it was a milestone game for Tommy Atkins, who played his 100th. Yep. So congratulations to Axe for that one.
Well done, Tommy. And if you're not sure about the Will Ashcroft to Geelong thing, he was a Geelong supporter growing up. So strangely, I don't know why he was, but he was.
He just his love of Nigel Lappin and everyone, and Nigel being a Cats guy these days. That was kind of Freo. Our bogey team these days just
me.
continue to cause us issues even in premiership years.
Yeah.
Went down by 7 points. So that's 3 losses in a row and a couple in a row down in Geelong as well. We gave up the 7-point lead there. Blitzars and Hawkins did their hamstring. But Scotty passed Reg Hickey as the most capped coach for the Cats.
There's a few C's there.
Obviously an amazing milestone there, but yeah, certainly didn't really end in an ideal fashion with those really significant injuries and of course the loss as well. So bit of a shame how that day played out in the end.
Yeah, I did think we had that game sewn up in the last minute or two there with a 7-point lead, and then I don't know what happened. That just tore my heart out, that game. I just couldn't believe it. And it's Freo again. I'll be quite happy if we don't play Freo at GMHBA for a few more years now. There's
trauma there still, going back to some finals from much earlier in the last decade as well. So
can't handle it.
Things aren't great. I don't like that team. I still think if I saw Hayden Ballantyne these days, I'd swat the but anyway.
Just swat him. Yep.
Just like Scarlo. But anyway, the next game, and we kind of knew what the scenario was for the Cats going into this final block of 4 games. They had to win 3 out of 4.
Had to win.
And they had to pinch one from Port Adelaide or Collingwood, and that's exactly what we did. We pinched one from Port at home. Ollie Henry with 4 early goals, blew the game open really early for us. Jack Henry, sadly, with the foot injury ending his season. There was the big concussion controversy.
Yeah, Lear. That's right.
I think they've still done some suspect things ever since that day too. But okay, whatever. We'll see what happens there. But it was a good strong win, and we both felt pretty positive. Okay, we've gotten that win. We may not win against the Pies, and we ultimately didn't the following week. But the Saints and the Dogs thought, okay, this will be a formality then, based on the way we've taken on the power there, and things just didn't work because we finished the season with 3 consecutive losses again. So round 22 against the Pies.
Hang on. There. Let me just stop you there. Either moment says we don't get fired up for Freo games, and I don't know why. I agree with you there. So,
similar sort of comment earlier about GWS is because they're basically pretend teams. They've only been around for all of a minute. They don't count.
Exactly. Sorry to cut you off. Right? Keep going.
Round 22 against the Pies, though. Jezza with 7 goals, and all of a sudden a few eyes like dinner plates for a few of us Cat supporters thinking, okay, here we go. It's finally again. He's back. But of course, still wasn't enough to drag us over the line. Lost by 8 points. No Dacos, no more. Should have been no problem, but the Pies still got it done. And Gary Rowan and Reece Stanley injured. So again, injuries.
More medium-term injuries. Injuries. Oh, mate.
But we thought, okay, good win against the Power.
Yep.
Tight, close loss against the Pies.
Honourable loss.
Where we played a pretty damn good game, to be honest, at the end of the day. So we should still just stitch up this final spot with wins against the Saints and the Dogs. And
you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Didn't work out. So 33-point loss against the Saints. So that's it. Season over at that point. Brian, to be fair, I mean, an amazing milestone, an amazing achievement. Things don't really get discussed, but the goal assist record in a home and away season, that was broken. But injuries again. Sava Radaglia, close, out. Duncan, the MRO. Just a story of the year, really.
Rat's last game for Geelong, perhaps. We'll see.
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite likely, I feel like. But we'll go from there. And it ended with round 24, a game where, it was always going to be a fascinating one. It would have been nice to kind of smack the Dogs around and kind of end their season prematurely. And ultimately it did anyway, thanks to a pretty lackluster performance from Carlton on the Sunday. But it was, I was hopeful that even with a few new faces, and it was awesome to get to see the likes of Toby Conway and Ted Closey debut. And obviously a lot of the other younger guys coming back in as well. We had Ollie Dempsey, we had Mitch Nevitt, we had O'Shea Mullen. Like it was a great game to kind of see the future on show. But I was still quietly confident we might steal a win, and things were looking pretty good for a while there until probably that youth, that lack of experience started to show through in the last quarter. The Dogs got a bit of a run on, the opposite of basically what happened when we played them earlier in the season. And we got blown away in the final quarter. And so Isaac Smith and Sammy Menegola, who returned for his one and only game of the season that day.
Which you gave him votes for. You gave him votes, didn't you? Do you regret that now?
The ball no. Sympathy votes are fine. The season's over. It doesn't matter. Who cares? So let's throw him a bone.
Fair enough.
But both honoured by both teams on the way off the field. It was a fantastic achievement from both players, and great Cats from now on. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll happily accept someone from Hawthorn over to Geelong. We just won't let him go the other way. And so,
And
thanks, thanks Izzy, thanks Sammy Menegola,
and Seggers,
and Segler, who didn't play that day, and so didn't get
no.
didn't get a chance to just waltz alongside him like Nick Nat did, for example, for the Eagles. So,
what are you doing, Nick?
Segsy can just hang out in the stands, I guess.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so we've cleaned house. No more Hawks supporters no more Hawks players in the club anymore. So that's great. But just to finish off that last little bit, and I didn't note this. We did lose 5 out of the last 6 games. So yeah, absolutely terrible finish to the year.
Put a fork in us. Done.
Put a fork. Finish the year off early. Let's reboot, and we'll go again in 2024. So, since the season's ended, as you mentioned, a couple of retirements there, and I won't go over those again. We have had an All-Australian, another All-Australian. I think it's his 5th time, Tom Stewart. Fifth time.
There's a record associated with that too. It's the fastest player to 5 in terms of games played. He's about 148 or whatever he's played at this point.
That's right.
No player has gotten 5 All-Australian jackets, or I guess 1 jacket with their names stitched into it 5 times. Than Tommy Stewart. So massive congratulations for the achievement there.
Well done, Tommy. Good effort, and bad luck to who was that Collingwood player that they all wanted to get?
Isaac Quaynor.
No, was it Collingwood? No, Carlton, I think it was. Come to me later. There's all the Carlton people are whinging about their player not getting in or whatever. I can't remember his name. It'll come back to me.
Look, if they go on to win the flag, sure, complain away.
Fine,
but
go for it.
If they don't, well, it's because your team sucks, and it's probably that player's fault. So.
Exactly. First round ball, bang, gone. Brian Myers, we would have thought, you'd think he would be in the squad, surely. Surely he's in the actual squad of 44 or 40 or whatever it is.
What was Lingy doing?
Lingy. Do you remember who you played for, Lingy? 1 club player? Come on. Stand your ground, Lingy.
Did not have his... I'm
pushed around by Kane Corns.
Can understand the rationale behind him potentially not making the final team. Even though if you base Stevie J's recent maths that if every goal assist is actually worth 2 goals, then Brian Myers should be the Coleman medalist. But
yes,
it's... Like I can understand maybe not making the final team, but to not make the squad in a record-setting year, and like a good record, it's not some little piss-taking thing. Like it was a good record. I was shocked that he didn't get into the squad.
You got to at least mention the bloke, but anyway, Sooty says it was Patrick Cripps. I think that was the one. He might have been snubbed as well. At least you got him in the. At least they got him in the squad. Anyway, poor old Grind didn't even get a look in, but that's okay. All right, and the VFL, just a couple of other things with the postseason. VFL Team of the Year, Ollie Dempsey got picked for that, so well done, Ollie Dempsey. And the VFL Best and Fairest was held the other night, and Giant Shellcraft, who actually had a chat to at the Cargy Greaves last year, good bloke.
Oh, nice.
He won it for the 2nd year in a row, so well done, Jai. Hopefully he gets a nod in the draft, maybe. I don't know. Pick him up. Give him a chance.
Could go through the rookie system and pick him up.
Give him something, please. All right, where are we up to? Okay, so do we want to go through some of the stats? I'll quickly go through it.
I can breeze through those for you if you want.
Go for it.
I mean, it's not the best of reading, to be honest.
Not really, no.
Cardinia Park being the home turf in a place that we never lose at. We had a 6-3 win-loss ratio there, so not fantastic. 66% there. The MCG, we played 6 times, 2 and 4, so 33% there. And obviously, Essendon. Was it Essendon both times? Where did we play the Hawks? No, Easter Monday would have been the Hawks. So so it would have been Essendon and Hawthorn as the 2 at the MCG.
Yes, that's right. We played Essendon at home for once, I think.
Carrara 0-1, obviously against the Giants there. Adelaide Oval, we pinched our win against
Suns.
Suns. I got my states mixed up. Adelaide Oval against neither of the Adelaide teams. It was actually against West Coast over in Adelaide.
This is a horrible reading.
So Perth Stadium 0-1. The Marvel 1-1. And I guess that one would be the Dogs. The other one, the Blues. The SCG, the draw. You're pretty generous giving us 50% there.
Giving us 50%. 0-0. We can take something out of this season, surely.
Yeah, but we played there once and we got the loss. And I guess the home and away record overall stands at 53%. So 9-8 win-loss ratio in Victoria. But when we went into state, 1-4-1. So
don't forget that one win was the one win was against West Coast in Gather Round. So does that count? I don't know if that counts really, but we got a draw. Anyway. So not our best season.
Not been a great year for the Cats.
Not really, no. So some other stats, just while we're on stats for a little bit. Our highest score for the year, 136. So he clearly didn't function terrifically as a forward line. You want to see a score around the 150 mark or something like that. Maybe even one of those 2011 years where we kicked to 200 and something points. That'd be nice. Lowest score, 53 points against Brisbane. I can't remember what round that was. The biggest win was 93 points, round 6 against Sydney in front of a half a capacity crowd because of the stadium. Thank you very much. That would have been nice to have 40,000 people cheering them on, losing by nearly 100. The biggest loss, Port Adelaide, as I said earlier, it felt like a much bigger loss than that, though. 38 points. It felt like about
the nature of the
points,
turnaround, yeah.
Yeah, the turnaround. And here's some horrible reading. Sorry, everyone, but this is really terrible reading, but we have to talk about it.
It's been highlighted in the chats too. It's been highlighted in the chat so far in terms of the lack of influence that we had at the centre clearance this year, and it's highlighted with a few of these stats.
Yeah. So contested possessions, the club was ranked 12th out of 18. Uncontested possessions, 15th. Tackles, 10th, even with Tom Atkins, the axe, and clearances, 14th. So not pretty reading there, Paul, at all.
No, let's move on from that.
Move on. Take us through the next bit.
So I guess this is just kind of exploring the list a little bit and exploring the nature of the list and the games that were played and who played them. So we had 3 players that played every game of the season: Tommy Atkins, Graham Myers, and Zach Guthrie. And all did an amazing job. And it really, fantastic. I think those 3 highlight the importance of having a clean run of injuries. When you can get players on the paddock all day, every day, you get fantastic seasons. And that's what we got out of all 3 of these blokes. So, and
I'd say all 3 probably had a as good or better year than last year. I think that's
you could
maybe not Tom. Maybe Tom
best or very close to it. But
yeah.
We used 38 players all up, so that would be certainly a high for the
35, 36 is kind of roughly what you'd use in a good year. Yep.
And we obviously did not have a good year. And we saw debuts for Cooper White, Jai Clark, Toby Conway, and Ted Closey over the course of the year. So it was great to get some exposure with some of the new kids. Yep. Obviously, not all of those. I mean, none of those boys necessarily got a lot of game time. Some far less than others due to injury as well. But
Closey and Clark got about a quarter each, roughly, or maybe a quarter all up. Not much.
Not ideal in that sense. But still uncapped players. We've got Phoenix Foster, Flynn Kroger, James Willis, Oscar Riccardi, Oscar Murdoch, and Mitch Hardy, all with opportunity still ahead of them. I think a lot of these boys, and we've obviously, we've got a little bit of extra love here for Phoenix Foster on the show and Oscar Riccardi due to their featuring on Behind the Play over the course of the year. But everyone really has been demonstrating a lot of fantastic qualities, and there's plenty of reason to think they all might get their crack over the course of the next couple of years. So fingers crossed for all of those boys.
Hopefully because you always got to turn your list over a little bit. So hopefully these guys get some opportunities. It may be that we have to say goodbye to 1 or 2 of those guys, but including those guys that maybe made a debut this year as well. But hopefully we keep the majority of them. They get that crack, because the worst thing ever would be to get drafted to play AFL and then not even play a game. It'd be horrible. But
as long as we don't have a scenario like last year. So Mitch Hardy obviously being a mid-season draft pickup. If he doesn't get shown, it'd be nice if he doesn't get shown the door right away, similar to last year. I've forgotten the name of the bloke now that we picked up, but it did not made it 6 months, unfortunately.
It wasn't
quite frustrating and made a good case to be like, well, if you're going to grab us out of the season midway through, then at least give us 18 months, so like a contract of 18 months, so we can actually have some time to establish ourselves. I think that's a really fantastic point, and I hope something that, whilst that's not a standard at this point, that when it comes to someone like Mitch Hardy, he gets that time to actually establish himself and has that opportunity. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, hopefully. Back onto some good news, though. So some records this year, and there wasn't that many, but we're going to find some positives on this show, don't we, Paul? So we talked about Graham Myers, got the goal assist record, 41 on the year, past Jason Ackermanis. And I think Jason Ackermanis kicked more because he played finals and so forth. But during the home and away, 41 is the new record there. Tommy Atkins, second most all-time tackles in a season for Geelong for the club. Not for the AFL, but that's a pretty good effort from Tom Atkins there, really leading the way.
Not far behind at the end of the day where our current record is now, thanks to Matt Rowell, who admittedly got an extra game this year than the blokes he overtook. But
I did have a cup of coffee with Matt Rowell on the weekend just to see what his interest was coming down to Geelong. But
he was pretty keen, right?
Yeah, cards close to his chest, but we'll see.
With that skin complexion and that colour of hair, I feel like the Gold Coast is not necessarily good for him. He really should come down to somewhere like Geelong.
I think somewhere like
Geelong. We like
Geelong
a good redhead over here.
Give him a surfboard and he'll be fine. So Tom Mack, considering we were 10th considering we were 10th in tackles as a club, Tom Atkins second most in a season for Geelong. Pretty good effort there.
Carried us.
And yeah, fantastic. So and marks, Tom Stewart, 8th most all time in a season for Geelong as well. So 182 marks for Tom Stewart, the 8th most all time for the Catters in, I don't know, 170 years or whatever it's been. The club's been around. So fantastic effort there. That bloke just knows how to read the football through the air, doesn't he? We had a couple of milestones. Paul, take us through them.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously touched on Zach Tui already, overtaking Jim Steins as the most capped Irishman ever in the game. So congratulations to Zach for that.
Well done,
Cliff
Zach.
Scott, we've touched on as well in terms of his achievement there, overtaking Reg Hickey as the most capped coach at the Cats. Graham Myers with his 100th game, Tom Atkins with his 100th, Jack Bowes with his 100th, ending a little bit disappointingly there at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Mark O'Connor as well with a big milestone too. Kind of got forgotten a little bit, Mark, over the course of the year, this year. But yeah, that's a fantastic milestone as well. And for the really inexperienced young guys, Max Holmes and Tyson Stengel both notching up their 50th game over the course of the season. So some fantastic milestones there. And it should be noted that Hawk is getting ever closer to his good mate Joel Selwood in terms of being the most capped cat of all time as well.
And he has committed to going on next year. So you'd think,
so
unless he has a change of heart,
think.
yes, so you'd think he would get there unless injuries, for whatever reason, don't let him. But you'd think he's not far off it. Tyson Stengel did take the long way to get to 50 games. He's good on him for turning his career around and getting
his whole life around.
Track. Yeah, his whole life around. So I'm really, really proud of him, and he should be proud of himself. So well done there. Back, I'll do some negatives again now because we're taking this in turns a little bit. So some injuries, and we've floated this through. We sprinkled this through the episode anyway, Paul. But just so everybody knows how much of an impact this had on the season. Cam Guthrie, 17 games lost through injuries this year.
Gone from round 6.
Best and fairest, equal best and fairest. Gone from round 6, as you said. Jack Henry, poor bugger. If it's not one ankle or one foot, it's the other. So we lost 12 games out of him this year. So half a season out of him. Reece Stanley, 10 games. We probably wanted to play Reece about 10 games, but unfortunately we couldn't get Toby Conway on the park. So, but yeah, we needed Reece, and we just couldn't get him on the park either. Mitch Duncan, he lost 7 games this year. When I say lost, he didn't play through injury. We lost him for 7 games. Sam DeConning was bashed around the park from
especially early.
Pretty much first quarter of the first game of the year, just getting bashed up. He just had one of those tricky years. So hopefully he comes good next year and gets his body right. And Mark Blitzard is a bit of a later one in the year though, but still when we really needed him in those last few games, it just goes to show you lose 5 out of the last 6 games of the year without Blitzards. Maybe that's telling you something about how valuable this guy is to this footy club. And if you don't appreciate him, you probably need to have a closer look at what he's doing out there. He does absolutely everything for this club. Two-time Carnegie Grieve medalist. It's not by accident. So he's an absolute champ.
Continuing the negative train here, there's some suspensions, and thankfully we were pretty squeaky clean over the course of the year.
Too bad.
They were all for the in vogue rule of the dangerous tackle.
In vogue,
Greg Close, Mitch Duncan, and Gary Rowan all copping 1 game over the course of the season for dangerous tackles.
Yep.
So,
take that out. Take the in
We'll
vogueness out of it. I mean, maybe we've got a clean sheet there. So
yeah, pretty much. I mean, look, I think it's a very important thing that's being done by the AFL there, but obviously they were very trigger happy with it early on. So
yeah, goodness me, they were. Closey nearly got done twice for that from memory. I can't remember the second time, but he was running the risk there. And Mitch Duncan, I think the second last game of the year didn't really matter, did it? It's like whatever, give him a rest. Put him to pasture.
Put him on ice. Yeah.
Put him on ice until next year, if he's going to go around again, which sounds like he will. So, and I'm back to the positive stuff. Sorry, mate. I know it's coming more positive down my way, but then again, you write these notes, you sort of rig it that way. Memberships, we broke the club record again for memberships. I think last year we might have had about 70-something thousand. This year we had 81,000, which you'd expect after winning a premiership, wouldn't you? So, again, I don't know how many cats and dogs and pets and birds and all that sort of stuff are in that mix, but every club inflates it a little bit, don't they?
Well, yeah, I've signed up like my 4 dogs, my cat, and my hamster too.
Barkley, the official dog of the Hoop Show.
He's been real quiet when we've been recording lately.
He has.
Chirpy little shit.
Chirpy little bugger. Some other news, some other stories from the season, mate. Step us through some of this.
So obviously a lot of questions about the Cats hangover, and I think whilst we denied it for a while, I think there was probably a reality to that, coupled with old age, but also a new young group coming through as well. I think you put all those things together, and it did create a concoction that wasn't ideal for the Cats. And of course, you layer all the injuries on top of that as well. Not ideal. And Jezza, I think, best surmised it really when he was it a podcast or something like that, where he was talking about all his quarter pounders that he was smashing, and how even after his operation postseason, the first thing you see is him looking a bit dazed with a QP in his hand. Bloke was loving it. And who knows, that might be. He's a freak specimen and can just wheel out there and make magic happen out of nothing. But not all players can do that, and so we'll have to wait and see in that respect. But the Selwoods had welcomed a baby, little Joey.
Well done.
And so hopefully donning the hoops in the future. But for now, Joel Selwood's still on the victory lap. So long may that continue. The Lionel Messi comparison.
This was the big one.
That never was. But Grind lent into it nicely, both in the game immediately after, as we touched on before, kicking the first goal of the game and getting the celebration right away, but also right down to Mad Monday as well.
Yes.
Fantastic job by Grind leaning into it. Sorry, Grindel.
It
was an awesome effort over the course of the year. And certainly, one of the, I guess, sticking points early in the season, one of the bigger points of controversy in the media landscape was, and we've already touched on her a little bit, Daisy Pearce joining the club as a coach, but then as a result of the fact that she's also doing commentary, was not allowed to go down into the rooms for her commentary role because of conflicts of interest and the risk that might pose to the other clubs if she goes down into the rooms. So was being denied access on a lot of occasions there, which rustled a few feathers early on, and I get it. But at the same time, I can also appreciate where any club is coming from, saying, well, we don't want a competing coach down here where they could see or hear anything. So,
okay. The slightest little someone getting some work on an ankle or something like that. I don't know. But yeah.
It's conversation stupid.
Yeah.
And on the Hall of Fame side, 2 Cats inducted this year. Corey Enright and my man Jimmy Bartell.
Your man. You've got a few in your stable.
Jimmy's long been the one from the very, very beginning, right down to a Brownlow bet that didn't work out for me in the year that he actually won. So
actually, I had $10 on Jimmy that year he won, and so I cleaned up that year. I did pretty well. All right, so there's a couple of big stories there. We did talk about some retirements, but just going over those again quickly. Isaac Smith, 70 games for the club. Not a bad effort, really, considering I don't know how many he played for Hawthorn, like 150 or something like that, maybe a bit more. Segler, 9 games. Surprised me that he played 9 games for the club. I didn't feel like he played.
I didn't realise it was that many, but I guess he played a few through the middle of the year last year when Reece was out.
Yeah, true. And Menengola, 117 games. So hopefully his career, I don't think he's retired as such, but he wants to keep going. But it is pretty hard when you're over 30 to get picked up. But maybe there'll be a club like a West Coast or one of those teams that needs a leadership person.
I mean, yeah, you'll pick on me for giving me the votes or whatever, but like he amassed the ball with ease that day. And you'd imagine with a little bit of extra time to kind of work on his game and get some of the cobwebs out, there's no reason why he couldn't, like if he can maintain the fitness and still, chase the ball like that, I don't see why he couldn't be a good contributor to several different clubs in the competition. So
he's definitely got another year or something to offer, if for the right club. But fingers crossed for him, as I said. Now there might be some more exits, Paul. Couple of names that we've got written down here. What do you think?
Yes, there's a couple that I guess we've not necessarily discussed, but there's two there that have been kind of a topic of conversation for a while with Sava Radaglia, Port, and especially Hawthorn making a lot of noise. The Hawks have offered, I think it's like
2 big bags of cash
over like 6 years or something stupid like that. Like it was an absurd number. I couldn't believe what I was
Good on him. Good luck for Sava if he it'll set him up for life if he takes that. So can't complain.
Yeah, that would be huge, and I would not blame him for a second if he took it. Brandon Parfitt. I mean, we're not hearing conversations about gigantic pay packets, but at the same time, he might go for opportunity. There's another generation that's starting to overtake him, and so maybe it might be in his best interest. He's managed to pocket a premiership medallion. Might be a worthwhile opportunity for him to jump ship potentially.
Don't we give everyone to Port these days? Like even the same.
Well, yeah, I mean Port will grab him.
Port just takes all the good Geelong players now. They had Motlop and Sparkle Narkle and Francis Evans.
Tank, so
Crank the tank, give it to Port, whatever. So a couple of players might go, but we'll see. There's probably more than that too. Just speculating, I guess, with a few others, I suppose. Any names that you think might move on or be moved on?
So, I mean, you've floated the idea of potentially Cooper White and James Willis in terms of looking for opportunity and to get a senior game.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if this is me and my I don't know, growing negative sentiment towards the way he's been playing for the Cats, but I can't. There's this nagging feeling about Cole Jasny that might be able to put him on the table and get something for him. He's just not. Outside of the more concerning part that we've discussed over the course of the year, which has actually been the head injuries and the concussions that he's had, and that worries me just purely through a health lens.
Yes.
Even on field, he's just not. Doesn't have the speed to do the job that he needs to. Doesn't quite have the height to play the key position role that you need him to, and we're probably a little bit too tall in defense as well. And so, I don't know. Maybe
what happens if Henry's ankles keep giving him troubles and Radigali is gone?
Well, that might be saving grace, to be honest. That might be
that's where I'm landing with Kolodashny, and I totally agree that he's any other situation he's probably gone, or we look to move him on
the table at least.
Yeah, unless we can bring someone in.
No, you're right. With Asava going, most likely, and Jack Henry potentially having some ongoing issues, or at least certainly being vulnerable for the next little while, it might be a worthwhile thing to hold on to him for a little while. So,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. There's no one else necessarily that springs to mind. I will just shout at Rob Kieran's, who's jumped into the chat there. Recently tuned in while we were talking about other retirements. I don't see there being any more retirements this year. There's always the possibility that we might see one or two more. There are a few that maybe some post-season operations don't go as well as they should, and potentially there's something that comes of that. But I feel like that might be it for this year. But then there's a larger number potentially building up next year. So that'll be a fascinating situation over the next 12 to 24 months. We'll just have to wait and see.
It is a bit of a wait and see. It's going to be a really interesting off-season. Clearly, as we said off the top of the show, it's not the season we wanted, but stay tuned because there's going to be some things happening in the off-season with this footy club and over the next 12 to 24 months about what this next period's going to look like. So hopefully it's a really positive era for us the next couple of years, but either way, there'll be shaking things up a little bit. All right, let's get into some fun stuff, Paul. It's been a tough conversation this whole year about the Cats, and let's bring some joy back to the club. Now, we talked about some young players. I'm going to bring up a graphic here. We did. Hopefully, the graphic works. There we go. It's finally
Look at that.
Look at it. Look at the time and energy going into that.
Production value, people.
Good old Canva. The best young player this year, if you are listening on podcast, I don't think we've got it on podcast yet, have we? Maybe that's a job for next year, Paul. We'll get it on podcast this show as well.
Yeah, let's do that.
But we do have Phoenix Foster. The nominees for the best young player for the Hoops this season is Phoenix Foster, Tanner Bruin, Mitch Nevitt, and Ollie Henry. And we did put these polls out on various socials. And I can announce that the winner of the best young player for the Hoop Show of 2023 is
Phoenix Foster.
Oh. Phoenix.
Sorry, Phoenix.
Sorry, mate.
Welcome aboard.
Ollie Henry, not far behind. Tanner Bruin, not far behind. So Mitch Nevitt, your man, another one of your men. Your man, Ollie Henry, takes out the best young player for 2023. So you'd be very happy with that
bandwagon from round one. I was telling you pre-season this was going to be a great move, and 41 or so goals later, I stand 100% correct.
Yep, very good. All right, now we move on to the next award, which is the Lifetime Achievement Award, and we have 4 nominees again, and these are Shannon Burns, who we love. Shannon Burns on this show came on earlier in the year. Thank you, Shannon. Paul Callett, Teach, who's very, very well-known Geelong cheer squad member. All the players know him very well, clearly all the cheer squad members and whatever. Troy West, Catman. We love Catman. Gets into it every week, dresses up. And it's another one we love on the show. Stokesy, Matty Stokes, came on the show. I think he was our second or third guest or something like that. He was one of the early ones.
Stokesy was our sorry, because Bundy was first.
Bundy, Alan Christensen might have been number
7 or 8, actually, I think it was.
It was early doors anyway last year, so there's a whole playlist there of all these interviews. We might
go check them all out, people. It's an amazing.
Check them all out. It's going to be a long off season. They go for about an hour each. So if you're sitting in the car going for a drive or you're mowing the lawn, you got your headphones on, just chuck that one on. Now,
episode 16 for Stokesy too, by the way.
Well, there you go. And the winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award. I should have got him on the show, actually.
Well, I'm going to shout out another name very briefly because he was in the chat earlier on.
Yes.
Jake Rippon as well. So,
Jake, sorry, and I did apologise to Jake because I didn't get him on this leaderboard, and I think he understands. Teacher's been around for years, so we had to get Teach and Troy on this list. We'll get it. I told Jake that we'd get him on another year for this award if this award is popular. But the winner of the 2023 Lifetime Achievement Award is Troy West, Catman. Well done, Catman. Good job. We'll get you an imaginary trophy out your way very soon. So happy with that, Paul. That's what the Twitter polls are saying anyway. So
no, that's the people have spoken. So we cannot argue with the people. And Shannon Burns also another shout out too, because obviously he was also a guest on Behind the Play earlier this year as well.
Definitely was.
There's certainly no bias towards.
Not at all. No. None at all. The next category, we're still on the fan favourite stuff. Now, the next category is fan favourite, and we have a few names here. We have Zach Guthrie, or affectionately known, or I call him Big Baby Guthrie. A couple of people call him Z-Banger. Tom Atkins, the Axe.
Such a good nickname.
Brian Messi Myers, and Sammy Morfitt.
The legend.
The legend, Sammy Morfitt. This was interesting. I wasn't sure which way this was going to go. It was a bit of a split with these votes, but ultimately the winner, I have to announce, goes to Tommy the Axe Atkins. Well done, Tommy. You've taken it out. The fans love you. Oh, I thought the fans would be coming harder for Brian Myers.
I thought it'd be coming for Sammy Morfitt, to be fair.
Well,
yeah, absolute legend of the club. We love Sammy.
Sammy, you've got to campaign a bit harder next time.
And Joel certainly gave him a big leg up on grand final day too.
He sure did. He sure did. Now, the final award, and this is like the best picture award, Paul, so we saved this one for last. This is the Best Performance of the Year award, and this is best game of the year. So we had Isaac Smith for his round 24 game. We absolutely dominated. Now, some people might say it wasn't even the best on the ground, but anyway, that's a little bit of a bias thing there. Tommy Hawkins, I think he kicked 8 goals against Essendon. That was
8 against the Dons. Yep,
absolutely monster. And Paddy Dangerfield might say, "Well, hang on, I was pretty good that game as well."
Shut up,
absolutely. Shut up, Paddy. You get enough love, don't you? Brian Myers, I think he had a couple of goals and 5 goal assists, and absolutely was in red hot form during the middle part of the year, absolutely killing it. And Jezza, he'd be on this list every year if we did it. What did he kick? 7 goals one game? I can't remember what game that was, what round. My eyesight's not too great. But the winner,
round 4, it says.
The winner is Jeremy Cameron. For round 4. Now, some people said you probably could have given it to Jeremy for round 2 as well, but I had to pick one game. I didn't want to
give it to Hawk for the game against the Bombers with a career high. So
career high 8 goals. So you could give it, yeah. So anyway, Jezza takes it out. Not been the best year for Jezza, but at least he can put that one in his trophy cabinet in the man cave or the man shed next to the
hanging off his cow.
Hanging off the cow. We'll get that imaginary medal to you soon, Jezza. Don't worry, that's coming your way. All right, a couple of other things. I just want a couple other graphics. We've been busy on the graphics. We've got just to sort of show you the ladder movement this year, where we started from. So we went.
That's ugly.
That's very ugly. Nice little rise here in the middle part there. That was going okay, but as you can see, things really tailed off there at the end. So that wasn't ideal as well.
Look, we were tanking at the end there. We're going for draft picks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. I had all these other graphics. I just forgot to pull them up, but anyway, that's fine. I'll show one of my favorite ones. This is the band one. Sorry. There we go. These are the suspended players. Anyway, moving on. One more time. There you go. In jail.
Little tear coming from Closey's eye.
There is a tear. If you can zoom in there, there's a good old prison tat tear. They've all got prison tats. I think Duncan's got the
Gary's,
neck tat, and
Gary's shoulder, and
Gary's got one on his shoulder there.
Mitch Duncan's just doing his best Dusty Martin, really, with that.
And while I was up in the Gold Coast, I did watch Get Hard with Will Ferrell and the other guy. I can't remember his name. So yeah,
The other guy.
I
haven't
whatever
watched
his
the
name
movie,
is.
so I couldn't tell.
All right, we're nearly there. Just to finish off the show, Paul, and this is very subjective. So what we've going to do.
When you say subjective, I mean you put this together, and I'm now
correct.
Looking at it. So
exactly right. That's
Ben and Ben only.
Exactly what we mean. So what we're going to do is we're going to rank the players, but we're not ranking them from the best player at the club to the worst player at the club. We're grouping them in. So the first and second year players we've put in a group, and I think we've got 7 there. We've got 6 players that have been at the club for 3 to 4 years. We've got 13 players at the club that have been here 5 to 9 years, and then we round out with I think another 12 players that have been
the players who
10
spent 10 plus years in the system.
So the veterans on the list. So the way I've looked at it, Paul, and you can disagree with me on any of this, but I reckon starting with the young kids, the 1 to 2 year players, I think your boy Mr. Vice-like grip himself, Mitch Nevitt, was probably. Dukes, yep. We can go with Dukes. That's a nice nickname, actually. Dukes Nevitt. I reckon he's probably our best player this year from that group. Oisin Mullen, I had him just behind for his 6 games. I thought that was a great start for him, Oisin Mullen. Jai Clark, he only played a bit of a quarter. Maybe
I think you're a bit generous to Jai there with the unbelievably limited game time that he got.
He killed it in the time he had, though. Don't forget.
In the meantime, you're a little bit harsh on, I think, Ollie Dempsey, especially considering he was VFL Team of the Year. To sit at number 5 on that list is a bit rough. But with Toby Conway getting about 2 minutes for the entire season and doing a damn good job against Tim English. But actually, maybe that he deserves it for that one game alone.
So I've got Toby 4, Dempsey 5th, and then I've got Ted Closey 6th and Cooper White 7th. I thought, Cooper played a game earlier in the year and just didn't really set the world on fire. And I like what I see from Closey and Dempsey. I think he's not far off it. I think next year might be the year we see Dempsey playing 15 or so games. Yeah, I think we'll see him and Toby should be round 1 walk-up, really, and play standing when you need to. And if we have to tolerate a bit of Toby learning on the go, that's just what we're going to have to deal with, I think. So I think we'd all be happy with that. All right, on to the next group, Paul. The players that have been at the club 3 to 4 years. Now, you can jump in and you can correct me here, and this will be very controversial, this list.
You're a clown.
I've gone
How Ollie Henry isn't number 1 is beyond me.
I've dropped him down to 4, everyone, but we'll get there. I've gone Tanner Bruin. Now, Tanner Bruin, would you have him in your first or second at least? Tanner Bruin? No.
Oh.
Where would you have Tanner Bruin on this list?
He'd be in the top 4. Like, I think.
Okay. I thought he was great.
Yeah, I think there's a few things I'd shuffle about this. But anyway, I'll let you read it out and then I'll
you jump in.
Displeasure.
Sam DeConning, second on the list. He's got a big job every week, and maybe we'll say he didn't have the best year this year, but considering what he's got to do, I think still pretty good. Max Holmes, I expected him to win a Brownlow this year, so I'm very disappointed in Max. But
well, I mean, Danger compared him to Judd at one stage there. And,
don't do that again.
Look, I think he may well. There's a good chance I think he'll still get to this unbelievable level, but I think he's still trying to find what his role is and what his game needs to be at this point.
I think we've learned some things.
Inside, outside, he doesn't seem too sure. The club doesn't seem 100% sure either. And I think the needs of the club over the course of the year in terms of with players coming out injured meant that he was playing a variety of roles and not getting the consistency he perhaps needed as well. So
that's right. Well, I think one of the things that the club does during the off season is watch shows like ours and hear the thoughts that podcasters like us have. So I think they'll take that into account and they'll make some changes and that'll be good for Max next year. Your boy Ollie Henry, I've got 4th, followed by Brad Close, bit of a down year for Brad, but turned it around in patches throughout the year, and Shannon Neal rounding out that group in 6th position. Now, you'd obviously put Ollie much higher, I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Yeah, look, I'd probably have 5 and 6 the same. Brad certainly had a lesser year, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Great contributor, but just not to the same level as he did in 2022. Ollie Henry, I would have at number 1. I'd probably have DeConing 2. Yep. Bruin probably 3 and Max at 4. Based on this year, I would say that Tanner's probably jumped Max at this particular point. I
think we all had Max Holmes.
Tanner will potentially change, but
we would have had Max Holmes number 1 if we did this list in the preseason show.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to do this list when we know what our playing list looks like. Once all the drafts are done and all that, we might have to revisit this and do some projections for next year. All right, now the next group's quite a big group. The years 5 to 9. I
sneakily flipped one about half an hour ago on you.
Cheeky bugger.
See if you can spot it.
I think we would have had everyone would have Tom Stewart at the top of this list, I think. Tom Stewart, number 1. I've got Tom Atkins, number 2. I think actually Tom Atkins will come second in the best and fairest, actually. I did have Brian Myers there for the longest time, taking second, but I think Tom Atkins is going to get it now. Brian Myers in 3rd, Jack Henry in 4th.
Ooh.
Was that you? Was that me? Maybe
No,
I
have not. I have not changed Jack Henry.
What
I
was
think
I
that is
smoking then. Jeez, no,
I think that is quite high.
That's a mistake.
Just like you were on the Gold Coast when you put this together.
Yeah, possibly. Zach Guthrie.
Were you having a meeting with Bailey Sniff at the time?
I probably was, actually. Yeah, he came up with me. Zach Guthrie in 5th. Asava Ratagalia in 6th position. Tyson Stengel. Probably would have wanted Tyson to be a little bit higher on this list, but he's in 7th. Jack Bowes, probably roughly where we thought Jack might be, I'm guessing. I'm surprised he's played 5 years, actually. I thought he was a bit younger than that. Mark O'Connor, probably where I thought Mark would be. Merrick. Sam Simpson, it could be one that... imagine if Sam Simpson got delisted or moved on. Oh, that'd be a heartbreaker for me. I love that
That'd be
bloke.
heartbreak, I think, yeah.
Oh, I love that guy. Kola Dashney in 11th position on this list. Not good.
Slider.
Even worse, Brandon Parfitt in 12th position. And we'll probably all expect Menengola to round this list off
retiring Sammy Menengola.
13th position there. Any strong objections to this ordering at all?
Well, I objected to you having Mark O'Connor above Jack Bowes, and so I quietly flipped that on you before.
No, that's fine. I'm happy with that.
But yeah, I think Jack Henry,
Wait,
based on potential and what we know he can do, it's probably right. But what he's actually delivered through injury,
yeah.
I would. I would probably. So I think for me, the contentious spot is probably, and that's factoring in that I've already swapped Bowes and O'Connor around. Is probably that 4, 5, 6, and 7 block. So I'd probably have Jack Henry. Sorry, I'd probably have Zach Guthrie jump above him. I'd have Tyson Stengel in 6. Probably at that point, Henry. Oh, geez, I've messed my numbers around here.
So where's Ratagalia going? Where's Ratagalia on your list?
He would be 7th. He would be 7th for me in that particular
group. We can live with that.
So yeah, he's not some gigantic shoot him off the list sort of thing, but yeah, I'd say Stengel jumps him. Jack Henry, Zach Guthrie remain above him.
Yeah, I think Jack Henry's the one that probably takes a little bit of a tumble from where he currently sits in 4th position there. I think that's fair. So we're not too far off it on that one in terms of agreement. Now, our veteran list, we've got 12 on this list. I don't know about this one. I had Jeremy Cameron at the top, even after the season that he had, which now I think...
No, you're probably still thereabouts.
No, now I feel like it should be Mark Blitzarves. I had Mark Blitzarves in second. Yeah, Tommy Hawkins ahead of Patrick Dangerfield, who's in 4th. Then we've got Isaac Smith, 5th. Gary Rowan, 6th. Maybe you could make an argument. When Gary's on the park, he's a lot better than that. Cam Guthrie, 5th. He didn't play many games. Maybe Mitch Duncan should have been ahead of Cam Guthrie, even though Mitch missed a fair bit of the season as well. Cam Guthrie missed 17 games. How have I got him 7th on this list? I don't know. Mitch Duncan, 8th.
And to be fair, he wasn't flashing those first 6 games either. You could tell, you said it yourself. He changed the hair and he lost all of his powers.
The powers went. He's got to grow the hair back, but he's not. He's just keeping it trim and tidy, and I don't like it. And things need to happen in the off season. Jed Buse in 9th position. Reece Stanley, 10th. Reece missed a bit better the season as well. Here's the one that you may not agree with, and I feel
dangerously no. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Zach Tui in 12th. In 11th position. Zach Tui and Segler rounding things out in 12th position there. Are you happy with Zach Tui in 11th position on this list of all the veterans?
Actually. It wasn't a great year for him, and I think he's teetering. He'll obviously be around for one more season. That's already been declared, but I think 2024 is probably it for Zach, unless this year really was just a bit of a stinker for him. And
you never know.
Entitled to have a bad year. He's played a brilliant career up to this point, more than entitled to have a stinker. But I think if he has another one that, if it's not a significant improvement, then I think he might be done.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
Hopefully, who knows? I still think these players can change their minds during the off season when it's too hard to get up in the morning and train. And I think he likes playing footy though.
He really enjoys it. Yeah, I don't think there's any of that. It's just finding the form and getting the touch right, and
it's
just a little bit off the pace this year.
I wonder if Izzy will change his mind. He did talk about just wanting to go down to the pub and drink beers and all that sort of stuff, but
he was
he
already
loves
on the
playing
Sunday
footy.
Footy show this morning, and he's been doing all sorts. So no, he's loving life.
He's
I think
done.
at this point,
He's absolutely done. Look, I think that's pretty much it for the season in review. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments. We'd really appreciate it if you can. Give us a like and all that sort of stuff. And if you haven't, if you've got some friends that follow the Cats, make sure you mention the show to them. I've really enjoyed this show, Paul, and I just want to finish up by saying thank you to you for all your support throughout the year. And you've been
except for when we were losing, of course.
Except for when you were losing, you didn't show up and all that sort of stuff. No, but you did carry the can for me in. I think when I was in Bali, that Hawthorn
the all-important round 4 against the Hawks when we
Yes.
finally got the win, and boom, there I am hosting.
Yes. And Paul does a terrific job, everyone, on the Tuesday. Well, it's usually a Tuesday night. Sometimes we get it on the Wednesday night, depending on when we can upload it. But the Behind the Play show, it's our interview series show, and there's some really quality content there with some really big names. And I don't want to say the big fish that we've landed just yet, Paul, but there is a big fish.
I don't think we can.
There's a whale.
Who
It's
that
a whale.
is
It's a
until
mammal.
it's recorded and in the bank, because if that goes, if we announce it goes pear-shaped, that'll be incredibly disappointing for everyone. But
yeah, and we'll look silly. So
holy hell, if you and just because I saw a few comments in there before about trying to get Bomber on the show and all those sort of things, and asking me to do the legwork. I'm going to throw things back at you for a split second. A massive shout out to you, because for everyone watching who's maybe not aware, Ben does all the legwork in terms of getting all these guests. I have the very fortuitous thing of being able to just park my ass in this chair with some notes that he's often also prepared. And then I just get to sit and chat to these incredible people for an hour plus, usually most weeks. It doesn't happen without Ben. So
thank you, Paul.
So I'm really, really appreciative of that. I think we worked out pretty early on when we were establishing the show in the first place, that because I'm already doing a lot of similar sort of products and a lot of research for Dev Diary and a lot of my gaming related stuff, that it might have been a real stretch for me to find the time to do the digging for AFL players or adjacent people, individuals as well. And you did an amazing job to kind of help get the show going in the first place by doing stuff like this. So I'm really, really appreciative of it.
No,
the show, you can, people can say what they want about me as the host, but the show doesn't actually happen without you. So thanks, mate.
No, he's the world's best host, and I thank you for that kind words, Paul. But also thank you to each of the guests that have come on this year. We can't express enough how much we appreciate you supporting this little channel of ours.
I can shout out everyone if you like. I can go through the list if that's what you need from the years. So
it's been terrific, hasn't it? There's some really, and especially some of the players at the club, from the men's team and the women's team. We've had players from the media. People from the media. We've had politicians. We've had people from the TV world. We've had everyone. And
we started. And look, I might quickly shout out all the names. We started the year with Brian or Lionel.
Yes,
Lionel.
Your boy.
Terry Degani from Blue Abroad. Oscar Riccardi was on early in the piece, which was a fantastic chat because he'd only just really been picked up and was based out of Torquay at the time. Brooke Plummer, Geelong AFLW star, obviously the Cats up and running, sitting on top of the ladder as things stand right now, which is awesome at the end of round 1. I also saw a comment in the chat before about what we're going to do around the AFLW. We're still working through that a little bit.
I'm doing a review tomorrow, people. I've got the day off from work, so I'll be getting the round 1 review video up tomorrow. It won't be like an hour-long video. It'll be like a 15, 20-minute thing, but I'll get something up.
Shagger Burns, as we discussed before, an interview then that was created me great anxiety before it actually happened. Nick bloody Davis. To have to look that man in the virtual eye and talk to him about what happened in that 2005 final was terrifying at first, but it was one of the best interviews of the year. I loved having a chat to him. So it was fantastic. And I can now say his name. So here we are. We've broken the back of some deeply entrenched psychological thing here. Barry Stoneham, Kate Darby from the Cats AFLW team as well.
Former Geelong captain Barry Stoneham, by the way.
Absolutely.
Geelong captain Barry Stoneham. Anyway.
Trevor Young, Noah, UCat specifically. So Freo.
Big dude, huge YouTuber.
And we obviously just thought we were going to walk all over him, and that went pear-shaped for us. Max Blake, Katie Sermon, who piled 2 goals on this weekend. She's made her transition over to the Cats seamlessly. Wow. M. Chalice, Supercoach Mama, Ollie Walker-Peel, Daz from Daz Talks Footy, Riley McCartney from Riles Macca, Rach Danderfield, Phoenix Foster, our favourite that we discussed.
We love
before.
Phoenix.
James Button, Cal Toomey, John Roberts, and most recently, and it's an episode that I'm hoping as many people tune into as possible if you haven't already, Mr. Razor Ray Chamberlain. How
do we get Ray?
Like it was.
How do we get him?
I spoke obviously about Nick being one of those awesome. Like, it was a top 3 episode, I think, with Razor. He was amazing to chat to.
A really good episode, people. And as I said, if you're driving somewhere and you've got an hour just to kill, it doesn't have to be tomorrow.
20 in the case of Ray, because he can talk.
Oh, he definitely can talk. Just sometime in the next 6 months, put that episode on. Do it tomorrow. But no, at some point during the off season, it's a great episode. It's a fantastic episode.
And what I would really encourage people to do, anyone who's kind of dialed into the chat right now, and again, I've spotted the comments before about Bomber and others, I'm sure. Like, if you've got people that we want to get on board, feel free to suggest them. If you happen to know of a way to actually reach out to the person, whether there's an email address or they've got a social media handle or whatever the case happens to be, send it through to us, because it certainly helps in terms of reaching out. We can only cold call successfully so often without again showing the.
We don't want to annoy them too much.
That you might have landed, but a cold call there has worked out very, very well. Or cold email. So we'll play that one by ear. But we are trying to do a little bit of work in the off season here to kind of get a few banked and ready for people. So please, if you've got ideas, send them through to us. Hit me up on social media. Hit Ben up on social media.
Yep.
You've got the outlets. Let us know who you want to see on the show, and we'll try and make it possible.
We've got. I'm just going to get the pen and paper out or the whiteboard out at some point and just write all these names down. And look, as I said, we'll do the AFLW stuff throughout the year. 100% we'll do that. There's so much stuff coming up. There's the AFL national draft coming up. There's the trade period and
you know that's
all that sort of stuff.
I tend to shine when it comes to trade and drafts.
Aren't you awesome?
I'll be all
well, all of that, and there's so much to come, everyone. So stay tuned. I'll definitely be doing reviews for every single game during the finals. Again, they'll probably be like 10-minute episodes. They won't be like the full hour length ones. So yes, the Hoop Show is going to be talking about other football clubs. This is, as you know, if you are a loyal listener or a viewer of the Hoop Show, we are very one-eyed Geelong, but for the finals, and we're not in it this year. Yes, we're going to talk about some other clubs.
So who are you on for? And I'm not talking about who do you think's going to win. Who do you want to win this final series since we're out?
Well, a name that we had on the show last year, Jake. I can't remember Jake's last name, but the St Kilda Saints TV.
Oh,
fella.
Yep.
God, I feel bad. I've forgotten his last name, but Jake. I do want the Saints to. They've had so much pain over the years. Surely they're due. Surely they won't do it, but. If anyone deserves a premiership, maybe St Kilda's that team. I kind of like the fact that a few teams that haven't won it much in the last few years are starting to win. Carlton. I know Terry Degani. I love Terry. We love Terry, but I do like seeing Carlton lose as well. So.
Look, their supporters by and large are giving me the shits a little bit, but at the same time, my mum is a Carlton supporter. She doesn't really follow the game super closely, but I don't know if I can throw my support behind them, but I won't complain if they lose. I'd love to see a team like the Giants, obviously, or the Saints who have never won one. Jake Bertone too, by the way.
Jake Bertone, sorry. Thank you.
There's a few teams there I'd be pretty happy to see win, but I think we can all get around the fact that we don't want the Pies to get up, and nothing would make us laugh more than to see the Pies cock this one up from here.
And we love your Swoop, Luke. Swoop's been on our show as well.
Yeah.
He's another big podcast.
He's,
the year before he came on our show, and we'll try and do some collaborations with Swoop at some stage, and maybe some season preview stuff. But yeah, no, I'm hoping
it's certainly not because of some of the people; it's because of some of the other people at the club.
Yeah, exactly right. No, there's some good people in the YouTube podcasting world. We just we give them a little elbow here or there, but
you got to know
it's all in good fun. Yeah. Mate, I think that'll do for the night. Thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in, who's still watching now. I think there's still 14 people on the live feed at the moment. Absolute legends. And it means so much to us. It really does.
Share with your friends.
We're just two blokes that love talking about the Cats. And we love
Except
talking
when we
about
lose,
the Cats.
in my case.
Except when we lose and Paul. I'm not well enough to come on the show. No, but we absolutely love it. I get so excited about talking about the Cats every week, and even when we lose, there's so much to talk about. And sometimes it's therapeutic, isn't it, Paul? It's get it off your chest, and we try to be balanced. We try to call as it is. We feel like this is a show where we're not connected to the club in any way. We're not affiliated with the club. we can call it as we see it. We try to be respectful because we want to have positive relationships with people at the club as well, but not at the expense of, as I said, just being honest with our opinions. Yeah. So thank you for joining us on this journey in year 2 for us. We'll be going into year 3 and beyond. And as I said, I'll be keeping things going during the off season as well. And Paul's got some,
we're talking about
some short videos
cards.
coming.
Yeah, some shorts, some stuff like that. Cards, those sort of things. It's going to be pretty cool. We're stewing in a few ideas that hopefully will keep you, the viewer or listener, engaged over the course of the off season.
So heaps of fun to come. Should be a good time ahead. Paul, thank you again for your time for tonight. Thank you for the whole year. Thanks to everyone else. Like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Thank you, everyone in the live chat today. It's been heaps of fun reading through all the comments. And until next time, go Cats and stay Geelong strong. See you later, everyone.
See you guys.